Ever since I was a boy, I have been fascinated by the paranormal, the unexplained. Over the time, I grew a desire to set out to further my research and experience in the field. I have put together a team that shares the same passion. Every explorer has a journey. Thank you for joining ours. We are the explorers of the unexplained.
Hey, what's up, explorers? Welcome back. Today we'll be doing the James Thurber House on West Jefferson Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. I'm lead investigator Tyler Snyder. I got a new addition to the team. Let's welcome
Melissa Alderman.
Thank you for joining us, Melissa. Glad to have you part of the team. Cody will not be joining us. He's on a temporary leave. He'll be back in about a year or so. He's in Florida, about to do a side unit. We'll see what more comes from him when we hear more from him. So let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the history on the Thurber's house before we move in on it. So we're going to start with what was here first. Before this house was even built, there was an Ohio Sane Asylum that sat in the general area, covered most of the houses around.
When the Sane Asylum was here, it burnt down, and there was 6 women that perished in this fire, but there was an additional woman that was in the fire but taken out and also perished once.
She died on the outside.
On the outside of the fire.
Then after all that happened, it was completely demolished. I believe by, what year would you say?
The fire happened in 1868.
Okay, the fire happened 1868, so it's about 70 or 80s, it was completely demolished. 1873, this house was built on top of the remains of the asylum. Then moving forward after that, we had a man, Thomas Tracy Tress, sorry.
And his wife.
Yep, they moved in at 1980?
Yeah.
1980-ish. They were renting the place out. There's a lot more stories on him. We'll talk about it when we get inside. Alright guys, so now we are in the parlor room, and this is where James Thurber's father was a public speaker for Columbus, Ohio. He worked with many officials, even the mayor, and they would kind of come around and gather around in this room, the parlor, and they would talk about their issues at hand and politician stuff about what's going on and what they needed to do to fix things, change things, etc. It's also known as the entertainment room. They used the Victrola. They had the piano, and they would kind of entertain each other in this very room. This was also what we believe to be
the room that Thomas Tracy Tress was brought down to from his wife and Miss Tina Ackerman when he had shot himself in the chest. They brought him down, and he was laid on the couch in front of the window here. And as they were waiting for medical help.
This is what we believe, anyways.
Yeah.
This is what we believe that happened. Because the story goes that Thomas was messing around with his .38 revolver. He was pointing it at his wife, being childish with the weapon. And his wife kept telling him, do not point that at me. Anything could happen. He replied, it's not loaded. Don't worry. And he ended up putting it on his side and pulling the trigger. And it did, in fact, go off. And he was bleeding out as they brought him downstairs, because we believe it happened upstairs. That's what the newspaper said,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which we'll show you guys. And that is basically what we think happened.
That's what the newspaper says.
Yeah. That's what we're kind of going off of. So
there's also another story of him getting a phone call saying she was in the arms of another man. He came home and
a couple different stories.
Yeah. So we don't know which is true, but what the story that we told in the beginning is what is in the newspapers. So
Yep.
that's
Just
what we're
stuff
going off
we
of.
heard and what we got so far. We don't want to, tell anything that's not what was stated so far. So that is what we got on Mr. Thomas, and we're going to move on. So from there, we move in to the dining room area. This was the family room. Alright guys, this is basically the living room where the Thurbers would gather around and kind of talk and just kind of hang out. And as you guys seen, if you guys watched Taps, this is the exact spot that they were doing most of their investigations, along with their clock here, which they had it looked at as a 1920s model, very old. The clock, it actually opened up during their investigation. Couldn't really explain it. They tried to explain that and the footsteps that Thurber heard, as we talked about earlier. And they noted it more like a burglar type thing. But go ahead and check their video out on that. I don't want to talk too much about it on their behalf. So check that out.
But they took it and had it checked out. The guy said there's no way it's pretty secure, but
it's really impossible for it just to pop open by itself.
But it did. There was a key.
Yep. So that's definitely one thing. Also, we had James Thurber liked to use his family, like I said, in a lot of his stories. He used, like for example here in the dining room area, family room, there's this chandelier here, which I'll show you. Right there. But he would claim, or his grandma would always say, that it would leak electricity when you take out a bulb. I guess water would just flow right through it. Also, with the clock, there's exactly 1:15 that James Thurber and his brother Robert, they heard the footsteps in the dining room area. So this clock stopped on 1:15, and this clock hasn't worked in over 100 years or something.
And when we did the research and everything, it said back to the insane asylum. It was around that time when the fire started. So
It said 0 hours. So it was either 12 or 1, somewhere around that area.
So that could be.
So there could be a a potential link between the time going off and the asylum burning down. We think like all these stories kind of intertwine with each other. Then again, these are just our thoughts, but that's what we think the whole time situation is about. Because it didn't add up with Tracy's death, the time he was shot, and the only thing it really does add up close to is the insane asylum burning down.
This is the adjoining room. This is called the alcove, where Thurber's father would come in to get his little peace and quiet when he would have too much of kids, the dogs, everything was, he
It
just
was
wanted
a very
his peace and-
hectic house with
Yeah.
everyone living together.
So he would come in here, he would sit down and just relax. In this room, there's been told to see a man sitting with his elbows on his knees. There's a lot of shadow figures in this room, a lot of walking in this room.
Which we don't want to pinpoint to
No.
one person,
No.
but we think it might be Thomas.
Yeah.
But that's
So-
just our thought. We have heard a lot of stories a lot of stories, experiences, which Anne will talk about in the nighttime trip. But one of the people here, they were told that a light was left on, and the person said, "Well, let your ghost get it." So when they came in, this whole cabinet here was just shaking. And we kind of walked over, and there's no way of like making things shake. So that is definitely unexplained.
We even went over on the other side of the wall
Yep.
to try to make it move, and it didn't move.
Exactly. So in here, we have the Thurber House today. This is just everything the Thurbers, or everything that people have put together and made this great house what it is today. Right here is the authentic newspaper of Thomas Tracy Tress, which states all about what happened. And many other great stories on the Thurbers. Beautiful house, guys. Lots of stories. Next room is the dining room. And this is where Thurber and his brother, they came down the stairs, like right there. And they said they heard the footsteps circling around the table. And then they ran up and something followed them up. It disappeared when they ran into the rooms and shut the door. But nowadays, known as the bookstore. So a lot of great items. A lot of James Thurber's books. And many other things. Very beautiful. And this would be the dining room that the story was based on. Here, this is the kitchen, which was made an office. We won't go too far in. Going up. More beautiful view. All this is here. What it looks like on the top. Very beautiful. Then the first room to the right, the parents' bedroom. It used to be, before they made it, the Thurber Museum, which has the life and times of Thurber timeline. The big old timeline on Thurber. Alright guys, so this is the museum room, and a little bit about James Thurber. I'm going to talk about him. But James Thurber was born here in Columbus, Ohio. He grew up most of his life in Columbus. He ended up in New York City as an author, humorist, and cartoonist. This is Thurber's childhood home. It now serves as a museum and writing center for many different writers around the world. And the house was built in 1873. Thurbers lived here from 1913 to 1917. They lived in many other houses on the east side of Columbus. And a little bit about Thurber.
When he was younger, him and his brothers were playing a childhood game that involved an arrow. And one of the brothers, I think the older one, accidentally shot Thurber in the eye.
Yep.
And
He lost sight in one of his eyes.
and then as he grown older, he ended up losing sight in both eyes.
Yep.
Which made it hard for him to do the ROTC program in college.
Yep.
But they still let him go with
Yep, because when Thurber lived here, he attended East High School and then moved on to the Ohio State University. And during Thurber's time here, he encountered what he thought was a ghost, which inspired his book, The Night the Ghost Got In. He was a brilliant writer. He had to wear special glasses. I'm not sure if we got a picture of him, but I'll show you guys around a little bit. Kind of get you guys a feel of what we see. This is some of the glasses. These are James Thurber's printed glasses that he wore. These are first edition copies of James' books.
And he was also in a fraternity in Ohio State. I think it was called Pi Kappa Pi.
Mm-hmm. These are all James' first copies. First edition copies. This is like that here. This bedroom. Here's a little thing on that. Pictures. Some of his certificates. Ohio Journalist Hall of Fame. Thurber was a very intelligent man and a great writer. And like Melissa was saying, with his eyes going bad, his left eye being shot out by the arrow, and the other eye going bad over time.
This is his left eye.
Yeah, left eye.
He was 7.
Wow. 7 years old. And as he grew, his other eye kind of went with old age. Therefore, he had to wear special glasses when he wrote, and he got like, I think it was like 20 words on an entire piece of paper. Here's some of the writings that he did. This was his journal. A couple pages so you guys can see. Very cool. But he got better over time with the glasses. They really helped him see. I'm not sure if it was beginning ones, but it told that he only got a few words on a piece of paper because he couldn't see. But he did an amazing job. And then over here, we have this chair, which it don't really add up because of the dates, but it says, this chair belonged to the Thurber family when they lived in 77 Jefferson Avenue. One day, the family gave the chair to a delivery boy as payment. It was returned to the Thurber House in 1980s. But they lived here after that, so I'm not sure where that came in. Pictures. You got the grandmas and aunts, his brothers. We're going to kind of head out into the hallway, show you guys a bit around. Here's one interesting photo. The Thurber House group. Very nice capture there. This was the area of the front staircase, early 1980s, before they remodeled it. It goes right there. Moving down the hallway. Oh yeah, youngest son got this room, Robert, which is a little off his mouth. Yep, Robert's bedroom. Here's a couple photos. Back out. That's an adjoining room from the museum. William's bedroom. Very small. And as we venture down, lovely pictures. James Thurber and his dog. They did love their dogs very much. James owned over 50 dogs in his lifetime. A lot of dogs. Alright, and as we venture down, this is the attic entry. This is where grandfather used to sleep. Up there. As we venture down, James Thurber's bedroom.
Bedroom's my favorite.
Very nice. Alright guys, this is James Thurber's bedroom. I'll give you what we see. Next place. Right. Alright guys, so this is James Thurber's bedroom. James was an amazing writer. He wrote a lot of his stories on his relatives from around here. He wrote a lot of stories about Columbus. And he used a lot of his stories with his family. He incorporated them into his stories. He loved using his family. He owned a lot of dogs, 50 dogs in his lifetime.
And one of the dogs' names was Mug. And this dog loved to bite people. And the only person that Muggs really didn't bite was Mrs. Thurber. And he usually did.
Always picked James.
Yeah, he always picked James to bite him with. But every Christmas, Mrs. Thurber would make chocolates and brownies, and everybody that Muggs would bite, she would make sure she would send them the chocolates and the brownies and everything to them. When he
Kind
passed,
of sorry, I bet you.
yeah, the sorry gift. The iceman, the laundryman, garbage man, they made sure to stay far away from the house because of this. He was a little bitty dog.
Everybody feared Mug.
He wasn't a big dog at all, but he was still cute.
Yep. Then there was Rex. Rex was the bigger dog. He was the powerhouse. He loved to play fetch. And he would chill mostly in the hallway. There's a picture of him. Make sure you guys can see good.
He was bigger.
Yep. And there's Mugs.
Yeah.
But yep, here's some photos. And over here, we have James's typewriter from the New Yorker. Very, very old. This is what Mr. Thurber would sit and write his stories. we have signatures of all the authors that have stayed in the house. Very, very, very many. Got to sign James Thurber's closet. Very interesting. Yeah. And this is James Thurber's bedroom. Alright, so from James Thurber's room at 1:15 a.m., the clock downstairs on the mantle went off. James and his brother Robert, they heard footsteps below them, so they went over here and they checked out what they heard footsteps at the bottom. So they went to investigate. Walking down the stairs. And at that time they heard footsteps going around that table. Then they heard the footsteps getting louder towards them, so they ran back upstairs with the footsteps behind them. Thurber ran into the bathroom, closed the door, as Robert ran into the room to the left, and the shadow figure kind of disappeared. That's the story. Then the ghost got it. So, Alright guys, that kind of concludes our walkthrough. Just a brief history of James Thurber, Thomas Tracy, and the insane asylum. We just wanted to give you guys a little bit about the place and its history before we do the nighttime visit. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We thank you guys for your support. Thank you for watching and your time. We appreciate it.
And also, if you're interested in visiting the Thurber House, you can go on to Google, type in Thurber House.
Yep.
It'll give you the times, the dates that they're open. They do free self-guided tours, or they take donations, and they can tell you a little bit more as a guided tour.
Yep.
So if
They
you're
have a
interested
great
in that,
staff too, guys.
Yes, they're very
Excellent
friendly.
staff. They're all friendly. They're willing to help. They're willing to, you got questions, they got answers. We want to give a big shout out to Ann Tuval. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And be sure to check us out on the nighttime trip. We'll be doing that very soon. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Make sure you subscribe.
Yep.